a short story for the young one among us and the young at heart among us. Reese, can you see this? Yeah, it's a turtle. Yeah, it's a particular kind of turtle. It's called a sea turtle because it swims in the large bodies of water. And a friend of Dan and mine, a theologian named Barbara Brown Taylor, well, she's not a friend, but we'd like her to be a friend. Pretty famous. She tells this story about a giant sea turtle that got stuck up on the shore. So you see, sea turtles climb out of the water through the sand until they get to a spot where they can lay their eggs. And once they've laid their eggs, hundreds of them, they bury them with sand and they go back out to the sea. But with all the new development along the water, sometimes the turtles get confused. Instead of going back to the sea, where the moon is shining on the waves and they see the light, they go towards the light inland and they get lost. That's pretty sad, isn't it? Yeah. So Barbara Brown Taylor tells about how the folks who come and save the turtles will flip them over on their backs and wrap ropes around their flippers and drag them with a sea jeep, or a sand jeep, I think it's called, back to the sea. Can you imagine being dragged on your back if you're a turtle? It's pretty rough, right? Yeah. But imagine when they find the water and they get flipped back over and they swim back home. Sometimes, Barbara Brown Taylor says, we thank the hands that turn our lives upside down. Have you ever been lost, Reese? Yeah, it's not fun, is it? I'm glad you found your way back home and are here today. The parable of the prodigal son, as it's known familiarly, is probably one of the most famous of Jesus' stories. The prodigal is known for his reckless and wasteful spending of the inheritance he gets and receives before his parents have died. He gets in a tough spot, then he's reconciled to the parent that he initially offends. Recently, this story has been called the story of the lost son, primarily because it occurs as the third of stories about something that's lost. The first one is about a coin that a poor woman loses, and she scours her house until she finds it. The second story is about a shepherd with 100 sheep. One of them gets lost, and he leaves the 99 to go find the one. Eric Elms, in his book, The Gifts of the Dark Wood, Blessings for Wanderers, suggests that when he gets lost on his journey, it's a feeling that prompts him to pay more attention to the signals that the Spirit of God sends. He says, the principal way God offers direction to someone in need, while respecting free will and the constraints of natural law, is through gentle intuitions that arise within human consciousness, producing sweet spot moments that a person is free to either accept or reject. There are many ways to be lost, right? Each character in this story enlightens that path. For today, let's wonder about this question. Who's lost? How are they found? How does their story intersect with ours? And what are the gentle intuitions that arise and produce sweet spots for us. The youngest son, he's lost for sure. He lost his way as the son of a farmer who cared for him. He's not able to live his authentic self in this situation. He has other aspirations than to become a farmer. He's not content with living in that same community where he grew up. He's adventurous. He wants to see the world. Who of us can't relate to one or more of those longings or another longing that compels us to leave home? Physically, actually, literally, or in spirit? Or is this young man just a bratty, self-absorbed young man with little regard for the social graces of his tradition? That could be too. One of life's most important tasks is to find our own home, our own groundedness, our own set of beliefs, our own self. Our life gets to be our own. We get to reject those things of our growing up that don't work for us, that keep us confined in a small box, emotionally, spiritually, or mentally. What we live with as adults is a choice we make. And we're free to accept or reject what's been given to us, as Eric Elms says. But sometimes, when we reject the subculture of our youth, we can get lost. When we say, this isn't working for me, we may not know exactly what will work for us. We have to change our path, but for what path? This young man's new path ends up in a pigsty, and I'm not talking about a messy bedroom. This would have been a hellish situation for a Jew, to work in a pigsty. He's broke and out of options, talk about hitting bottom, so he goes home with a new way of seeing himself. A little less arrogant, a little more humble, less antagonistic, more cooperative perhaps. What has been the gift of getting lost for you in that search for your true self? What has learning to live into our own values cost us and given us in terms of awareness of the world's complexity and grandeur? What changes occur in our understanding of the kind of community that's supportive? I think of the concept of family, F-R-A-M-I-L-Y, or tribe versus blood, for instance. The father is lost as well. Lost without his son. It's clear by his undignified reaction when he sees his son and runs toward him, robes flowing, undies showing. He is not behaving like a wealthy farmer should behave. Was it sorrow after his son's leaving, anger at his son's middle finger in asking for his inheritance, fear of what will happen to him, angst, paralysis, workaholism to forgetting that leads to guilt? What has this father dealt with? What parent doesn't mourn the loss of a child? For some, this may not ring true. There are parents who can't express love for a child. Implicit in this story, told to a people who were enslaved and who now live under military oppression, is the message that their God is like a parent who never gives up hope for the relationship. Creator to creature, parent to child, lover to beloved. Finding a community of people who represent that kind of love is an important journey. Many of you know it. It's reason enough to risk getting lost. Talking about the father in this story begs the question about the mother. Where's the mother? She for sure is lost. She doesn't even get a mention in the story. Literally, she is not present. Is she dead? Does Jesus feel that she's somehow incidental? Or like in many stories of the ancient world, is she not important? Although Jesus was a Jewish rabbi with those proclivities, he did not dismiss women. Last week's story, he welcomes a female sex worker to wash his feet. He stays with women, eats with women. He's supported by women financially. He sends them out as his disciples. She is not missing because Jesus does not respect women. But this missing begs the question for us. Who's missing from our stories? Who's missing from our story as a congregation? In the United Church of Christ, recently, the African American Church, which played a significant role in the creation of the UCC, raised this issue of being missing from the narrative. And recently, this congregation studied a book that described that stream, the fifth stream that brought the United Church of Christ together. Well, missings, speaking of missings, there are DEI eliminations going on from the records of our country on various websites. Indigenous people, Black people, and people of color, without whom we would not have many inventions or progress in our culture that we do. I'll name just a couple. Garrett Morgan created the gas mask and the traffic light. Jan Ecker created the folding ironing board. Alice Parker created central heating. David Crosthwaite created air conditioning. Charles Drew invented the methods for storing and preserving blood plasma, created the first blood bank. Granville T. Woods created telephone technology. Elijah McCoy, automatic machine lubrication. Sarah Good, folding cabinet chair. Judy Reed, a dough kneader. Dale Williams, the first successful open heart surgery, and all of these are African Americans. Who are the missing people? Our current administration also has eliminated any reference to people who represent diversity. These words are forbidden. Activists, advocates, anti-racists, Blacks, commercial sex workers, females, gender-affirming, Hispanic minorities, Latinx, LGBTQ, minorities, Native Americans, transgender people, victims, vulnerable populations, women, you get the picture. Finally, we get to the elder brother. He is definitely lost, but maybe not in a way that's obvious. He's perhaps the most lost of all, and he's right at home. Stayed home, honored his father and the family tradition, but his response to his younger sib returning home indicates that he's not a happy camper. Dad didn't pay enough attention to him. Does Dad have regrets about that? What about his mother? Wasn't thanked enough for staying home, for not being his brother? Wasn't honored or celebrated for being the faithful one? Did he stay for the inheritance? You know, the oldest gets a double portion. Is he angry because he did what he thinks is right with no appreciation? He's lost in the question, what good did it do, or what was the point? Wondering, what's the value of upholding the status quo at the expense of joy? There are many traditions that people will follow in order to feel comfortable. Rather than change for another opportunity to learn and grow, they will stay the same. You know that saying, the bad that we know often seems better than the good that we don't know. Debbie Thomas, a UCC minister, in her book, A Room of Many Faiths, writes about this story and being lost. There's a kind of lostness, a kind of self-inflicted exile that doesn't serve the spiritual life well. It's a version that refuses to engage along the way, that refuses to love the journey or lands through which we move. It's a version that looks perpetually backward, lost in nostalgia, longing, and self-pity. Ernie Campbell, pastor of Riverside Church in New York City, calls this elder son religion. It's a graceless acquiescence to the status quo for the sake of not rocking the boat or risking change. It's a sad living in a little box where anything new or different or untried is bad. So when have you felt lost? When have you sought a new path? When have you wondered how you'll deal with all the grief? When did you imagine being seen and feeling worthy? When will you get unstuck from the old ways that no longer work? How did you find your way home? What drew you there? What was it like to arrive there? What are the gifts of having been lost? What was available that could come to you no other way? This community, the joy of creation, a peace that passes understanding, a way back to God, or a connection to a deeper spirituality. I'll end with these words by T.S. Eliot. We shall not cease from exploration. And at the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Happy getting lost.